Well, speaking of which, I think we're about to be introduced to a brand new model that is going to warm more than the heart. We've got Chiro and Gav, the lads from OverDriveTV, joining us in our spectacular basement with something that looks absolutely beautiful and is something very different. A very good morning, gents. What have you brought for us today?
I've got the brand new Mercedes E-Class E500 rather,
yes.
Blue Tech hybrid for you this morning. Have a look at this thing. It is beautiful.
It's phenomenal, and also it's the only car I know of, Chiro, that's got a certificate. And now usually those are reserved for very clever buildings and for school plays, but this has a certificate saying that it's one of the greenest cars to ever exist, and they've calculated it over its entire life cycle, so 250,000 kilometers. It is 23% more efficient than the diesel equivalent, than its standard diesel equivalent.
So it's been certified. This is 23% more efficient.
This is like making a New Year's resolution to recycle and then actually sticking to it for the rest of your life. So,
and every day it is a bit like recycling, because this has quite the most phenomenal fuel consumption.
Yeah.
0 to 100 Ks on 4.2 litres of petrol. That's what Merc is claiming.
Yeah, and I mean, you drove this all over the Western Province.
Yes,
Chiro,
a lot of it.
And you still gave it back to me with over a half a tank of fuel.
And when it arrived, it said it could do 1,000 Ks on a tank. And I think when it gave it to you, it said it could still do 1,000 Ks. I think it just runs on German willpower.
It's closer to witchcraft, I think. It's a combination of an electric engine and a diesel engine. We'll get to that now.
Yes, there's a lot happening in here, so follow us inside.
But if it's the future under here, it's a bit old school in here, which I like.
So we've rigged this car with a friendly cameraman.
Yes, we have.
And we'll take you through some of the interior bits and pieces. Now, what's happening in here is pretty standard Mercedes E-Class.
Yeah.
In fact, the only thing that gives you a clue that you're in something quite special is over there. Now, that dial over there where it says max, and it's red and it's got green at the bottom. When it's on 0 and drops below, that's when the battery is being charged by the engine. As soon as it jumps above 0, that means it's actually putting boost into the car, and it's actually boosting the car along, adding its little bit of power from the electric motor.
Absolutely.
And that's about it. The rest of it is quite beautiful.
It's quite old school. I mean, what I love about it is you still get an old school dial on the radio, which I think is really cool. Yeah, which I think is also for their more senior citizen clientele. And also
analog clock.
The analog clock, and also it's got the old foot handbrake, which is very unique to Mercedes. My dad's 1970 E-Class had that, so it's the future and the past combined into one really appealing package here.
It's very luxurious in here, and I think we've got this idea in our heads that hybrids are kind of, made out of recycled bamboo, but this is a very luxurious German car.
Absolutely.
That happens to be a hybrid. So let's take everyone through what's happening up front here at the engine. Now, this is always a little bit tricky, but let me pop that open. There we go.
Wow.
Alrighty.
They've really crammed that in there.
That is a full engine bay, that. So what's happening up front here is you've got the lithium-ion battery pack. That's somewhere in there as well. And then you've got a 2.1 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine. That's all crammed in here. And inside the gearbox is where the electric motor is housed. It's actually built into the transmission.
And that's the clever bit, because obviously these hybrid cars often can take up a lot of unnecessary space, which can often compromise your cabin interior space and things like that. But what Merc have done, they've designed it so cleverly that this can actually be made on the same production run as the normal E-Class.
Yeah, I think that's very clever. So they save so much cost when they're building the thing as well. And now, driving this car is quite a different experience. In fact, it's actually not really like driving, is it?
No, Mercedes have given it a different term. At a certain speed, they're calling it sailing.
Yes.
So you don't drive this car anymore, you now sail it, because actually up until 160 kilometers an hour, the electric engine can take over completely and just maintain your speed.
It becomes such a different driving experience. You're cruising along the highway, your diesel motor revs drop to 0. Literally, they just fall off to 0. And all of a sudden, you're on full electric power, not using any fuel at all.
And I'm sure electric engines are what Mercedes-Benz engineers have waited for their whole lives. It is so quiet. It's incredible. But let's talk about its rivals a bit, Chi, because it's got a couple.
No, it does indeed, and I'll take you through them. So, from BMW, the
arch nemesis of
Yes.
the three-pointed star, is the 535 Active Hybrid.
Which we drove, yeah.
Yes, we have driven that. And then from Lexus is the GS 450H. Now, both of those take a bit of a different approach to hybrids because they have very big petrol motors,
Yeah.
a V6 for the Lexus and a straight 6 turbo for the Beamer. So it's like a bit of a different approach
They're
to
going
hybrid,
for more
I
of a
think.
performance slant with an
Yeah.
with an added electric bit.
Yes, exactly. This thing is just a lot more wafty. Although it's not slow, is it?
No, it's 0 to 107.5 seconds, and it'll go all the way to 242 k's an hour, which is pretty much all you need, and you can get about 1,000 kilometers off a tank.
Ah, exactly. So let's quickly play this game. Which one would you have?
I just think this just makes sense on so many levels, and I love Mercedes-Benzes, so this is a no-brainer for me. I would completely take this.
And I think I can help you there as well. 636,000 rand for this, 787,000 for the Beamer, 818,000 for the Lexus. So I think I would go for this as well.
Absolutely.
That's all from us guys down in the basement. Have a wonderful morning further up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers, guys.
Unbelievable stuff. I think it wins the hybrid battle. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Huge amount to squeeze in there. If you want to pick up the conversation with the lads, at OverDriveTV is their Twitter handle. We're going to take a very quick break. Then this incredible Wednesday continues here on Expresso. Taxi violence still on the way and a whole lot more. Don't go too far.
With a range of quality products guaranteed nationally, you will always find there's so much more to Midas.